Mike Bohn here in downtown Houston, where UFC 247 is going to take place just a few blocks away, joined by Anthony Smith, who is working the ESPN desk as an analyst, UFC light heavyweight. Anthony, big card here, obviously very significant to your weight class in the main event. Jon Jones versus Dominic Reyes. Pretty compelling fight. Obviously, Jon Jones taking on an undefeated opponent here. Just give us kind of your initial thoughts. Do you think, of course, Jon Jones being the dominant champion that he is his title reign in jeopardy here?
I think especially with this weight class, I think it's always in jeopardy. I think Thiago Santos showed that, and I think I even showed that a little bit. That I had my own moments in that fight. But Dominic's dangerous. Breaking it down, there's not a lot of things that he does at all. Like he's very basic, and it's very clear where he wants the fight to be. But in his wheelhouse, he's super dangerous. So if Jon slips for even a second, and Reyes can connect that big left hand or start attacking Jon's body with that rear kick. He could be in for a long night.
Yeah, is Reyes' best method, obviously the knockout here? Like, one thing that I think about Jon, and that I think, that we saw maybe in your fight and a little bit in the Santos fight, that, maybe sometimes he's a little too passive. He's not doing as much as he should be. I could see a situation where maybe 3 rounds, 4 rounds go by, and you're like, hey, Jon Jones is down the scorecard. He needs a finish, and that's like the situation where he may lose his title. Do you think that's an accurate assessment of, maybe his fighting style, his approach, and maybe a way he could lose?
You're absolutely right. His fighting style has changed, and I'm not sure why that is. I think it started kind of with me. It just wasn't what I expected, and it wasn't what Thiago expected. But I do disagree with it being passive. I don't think Jon's being passive right now. He's being fundamentally sound everywhere, but he's just not taking any risks like he used to. And I'm not sure that. I think sometimes it might be unfair to Jon to say that because he's fighting like everybody else now. He's just really good at, he's defensively sound. He's really good at shutting people's game down. The only difference is he's not doing the wild and crazy stuff that he used to do. So, as much as I would like to say that maybe he's slipping, I don't think that he is. I think that for whatever reason, he's changed the way that he's fighting, and that's kind of what a champion does. I think I would have had an easier time fighting Jon had he been more wild and unpredictable and just kind of throwing crazy stuff, and we could get into those scrambles, but he's so focused on just shutting down everyone else's game and then just doing just enough to win, but no more. But you can tell that it's there. So I don't think that Reyes can beat Jon over 25 minutes. I don't think that he can be ahead of Jon in every position for 25 minutes. Can he catch him and find ways to get to Jon's chin? Absolutely. I mean, he's a big, strong, powerful, athletic striker. If he gets there, he'll hurt him. But we've seen Jon hit before, Machida, myself, and he's got a chin, so he's going to have to hit him clean.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, anyone can be knocked out, but it seems like, especially as the fight wears on, the percentage of him potentially being caught, that power of Dominic is going to fade, and you imagine the longer the fight goes, the lesser chance Dominic has of winning. Yeah,
he's got to get in there fast if he's going to finish Jon, and I do believe that that's his only route to victory. He needs to finish him. He's not a good enough wrestler to take him down, and I don't think he's a good enough wrestler to get back up if Jon takes him down. He's got to catch him early on his feet, and he's got to give Jon something to worry about. If he can get something strong on Jon's chin early, then the chances are getting better of him catching him later on because Jon's going to be worried about something. Jon goes into every fight not worried about anything, and up to this point, no one's given him a reason to.
Right, and then the co-main event, obviously, Valentina Shevchenko, another dominant champion, fighting Chookagian. Interesting fight here as well, two primary strikers, but people with good ground game as well. Just what do you make of this matchup? Obviously, Chookagian has been looking for this title shot for a while. Valentina's looked pretty much unbeatable at 125. Do you think that her title reign is at all in jeopardy here?
This is what makes my job really hard as an analyst. I really like Katlyn Chookagian. I think she's an amazing fighter. She's an amazing athlete. She's a great ambassador for the sport. She's the type of people we need in this sport, and she's the best fighter in the division, not named Valentina Shevchenko. And so my breakdowns aren't really based on Katlyn because she does a lot of things well. She doesn't have a lot of holes, but I've spent the better part of a week breaking down every single fight that Valentina Shevchenko has had in the UFC, and I can't find a hole. I can't. Not any significant one. Obviously, she has the losses to Amanda Nunes. If you shrink Amanda Nunes down to 125 pounds, I'm not sure what that fight looks like. So far, the only advantages I've seen anyone have over her are in spots that she would typically win, but doesn't because of a size advantage. So she's had no issue making 125. And Amanda Nunes manhandled Cyborg at 145, who's widely known to walk around at 175, 180 pounds sometimes. So this is a tough one because I don't know where you go when you fight Valentina Shevchenko. Like, if you're a male 125 pounder, I don't know where you fight Valentina Shevchenko at. You know what I mean? She just gives so many different looks. Sometimes she's grappling, sometimes she's wrestling. She flows between the two so well. And it's not often you see someone as good at striking as she is and have the pedigree of striking that she does that's also that dangerous on the ground. So I think that Chookagian's going to be in there the whole time. I don't see Valentina going in there and just mowing her over. I think people are being a little bit disrespectful with that part of the breakdown, that she's just going to get mowed over. I think she's going to be in there. She's going to be competitive. I just think that there's not a lot of wiggle room when it comes to Valentina Shevchenko. Yeah,
and if you were, through all your research, all the stuff that you've seen there, if you were to give Caitlin one piece of advice, like you have to do this in order to win the fight, what would it be?
Honestly, just be herself. I think that's her best weapon. The way her fight style is, she's very high volume, and I don't want to call it herky jerky. She's just all over the place, and she's constantly attacking. She's constantly moving. It's a possibility that maybe she just gets in a rhythm and she's constantly moving, and she's got Valentina, out of her rhythm a little bit. Yeah. And if she can just keep putting points on the board, I think that's what it comes down to. If she can get 3 rounds in the bank over the entire fight just by being active and busy and staying out of trouble and not letting Valentina start building up those combos, because once Valentina gets a rhythm, it's typically downhill from there. So if she can just keep disrupting her and just stay busy, it's possible. She can do it, and I know she's a huge underdog, but I don't think that is a fair assessment of, the numbers aren't a fair assessment of where Caitlin's at. But I think just who she is as a fighter and what she typically does naturally is probably, if she just cranks the volume up a little bit, I think that she has a chance.
Yeah, I actually spoke with that a little bit with Caitlin yesterday. I feel like both of them rhythm fighters, and once one of them gets the momentum going, it's going to be really hard to stop. So I think those first, second rounds really, really important in this fight. Obviously, some other interesting matchups on this card. Anything else that you're really digging? I mean, Ilir Latifi moving up to heavyweight is pretty interesting. He was 41 pounds heavier today than he was for his last weigh-in, which is pretty wild. Anything else, even if it's that fight, stand out to you that you're digging?
Yeah, that one stands out to me a lot. It's really just the aesthetics of it, because he is so short, and he's, as far as his frame goes, he's an undersized middleweight. So, I understand, I guess he's been having some weight cutting problems, and to be honest with you, I didn't believe it. I thought he was just being lazy, if I'm being very honest. I didn't understand the move. He's so short, he doesn't have much of a reach. And then he weighs in today at 246 pounds. I was like, oh, wow, well, okay, well, then maybe he's honestly having problems, because there's not too many people that can gain 46 pounds between fights and still have abs. Yeah. He still looks like he was in shape, So I just think that, I don't know what the game plans are going to look like, or what is it going to look like, those two standing at distance striking, you know what I mean? I think it's just the aesthetics of it seems fun. I really am looking forward to the Dan Ige and Mirsad Bektik fight. Those guys are two exciting fighters. They're super talented, and they're both real technically sound. So it's going to be fun to see that chess game play out. And they're both, they're both finishers. They're both chasing to finish the whole time. So I'm excited. Obviously, Mirsad is from Nebraska, so I'm excited to see how he's going to bounce back from that loss to Josh Emmett. That dude was on a roll, and he had a lot of hype behind him. And he kind of took, he had 2 big stumbles. So I'm excited to see him back. His mindset seems stronger than ever. So I'm excited for that fight, for sure.
For sure. And just to close it out, I like to play a little game of likely or unlikely. I'll throw a couple scenarios your way. You can tell me if they're likely or unlikely to happen. At least, or one title changes hands on this card.
Unlikely.
Dominic Reyes wins 2 rounds against John Jones, at least.
Likely.
Same question. Caitlin Chookagian is able to win 2 rounds against Valentina Shevchenko. Maybe doesn't win the fight, but at least gets 2 rounds.
Likely.
There is at least 4 knockouts on this card.
Unlikely.
There's 3 submissions on this card.
Likely.
All right, well, it all goes down Saturday night. Should be very interesting. Of course, you can get our coverage on MMAJunkie.com, and of course, watch Anthony's great work on the ESPN desk all weekend.